Welcome to Facebook Friday. Thanks for waiting for us this week. I'm here with Mom, and
Hi.
It's her very first Facebook Friday. So say hi, Mom.
Hi!
So I'm just going to do a sound check real quick. Of course, if you've been following our videos, we've been hanging out in San Francisco for the last 2 days. I forget left from right. Hang on, let me figure that out. Okay, got it under control. All right, so we're just going to sound check here. Video should pop up on the page. Let me share it. Make sure everything is good. Wow, we're at 22 seconds already. I've been babbling at you. Wow, that's amazing. All right, so I'm going to have to flip over to my notes while we do the news, so I won't be able to see your comments for the first, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. There's not a lot of news this week, so it shouldn't be a big deal. But anyway, as soon as I finish the news, we'll come back and I will check in on that. So, oh, sound is good. All right, cool. I can see your comments, except I'm not going to be able to for a minute. Okay, so switching over to the news this week. I'm going to read that really quickly, and then Mom and I are just going to tell you a little bit about what San Francisco has been like so far. So, first of all, we'll start with the sad news. Imagineer Marty Sklar passed away yesterday at the age of 83. He was, I guess I don't need these in to read the news, that feels awkward. He was an Imagineer with Disney, actually since 1955. He went to work for Walt Disney shortly before Disneyland opened, and he started out doing news and copy editing, and was actually in attendance at the opening of every single Disney park. So with Shanghai just opening, if another park opens in the future, that will be kind of a sad time because it'll be the first one Marty Sklar hasn't been at. So he was an amazing person in the field of Imagineering, was always the like, let's go add this extra awesome thing that people are going to love. So definitely a big loss for the Disney company. He was still actively presenting at conferences. He was just at the D23 fan conference 2 weeks ago. So he was still actively presenting for Disney and actively writing and talking to fans and getting out there. So definitely a big loss for the company yesterday. Also in news this week, there is new check-in functionality on My Disney Experience. You can now check in from the app instead of at the desk. So we'll be anxious to hear feedback on that over the next couple of days and see how it's going. As you may have heard, Ellen's Energy Adventure's closing date was given as August 13th. It's also the day Mission Space reopens. So good job, Disney, for if you're going to shut down an attraction, bring one back on. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Also, the Vacation Savings Program has been discontinued effective this week. If you were participating in the Vacation Savings Program, Disney should have contacted you or should be contacting you with 4 different ways to redeem that money. You can either book a vacation, obviously. They will refund it to you on a gift card, and there's actually a different way of refunding, and that's based on whether you want the money immediately or whether you're willing to let it play out according to their timeline. You get a little bit better perks if you're going to wait for their timeline. They're giving a little bit of bonus back on whatever you have saved so far. So I read through the rules a little bit the other day, and it looks like it's a pretty good deal. If you had a vacation savings plan, you're going to get at least the money you put into it, if not a little bit more. And, then that money's actually free for you to use, however you're going to use it. So the annual pass holder blockout dates changed this week for Walt Disney World. They've been shortened so that fans who are AP holders can get to Ellen's Energy Adventure and ride it one more time before it closes. I think also the Great Movie Ride closes around the same time. So if you're fans of those attractions, you're currently holding an annual pass that had summer blockout dates, you're in luck. Book a trip, quick. Another neat news item that did not come out at D23 but was released this week was that there will be a new Grand Avenue in Hollywood Studios, and part of that Grand Avenue is going to be a pub-style restaurant. So I'm a fan of this happening because Hollywood Studios definitely needs more dining options. They are a little short. So that sounds like a pretty neat thing. It looks like it's going to be where the Old Streets of America was at, so apparently Star Wars Land is not going to take that entire space. Lastly, in Disney news, Castaway Cay was voted the top private island. I think it's like 50 years running at this point. Castaway Cay is consistently at the top when it comes to the cruise line's private islands. So awesome job, Castaway Cay. Keep up the good work. Lastly, a little bit of news for the agency. Reminder that we do have our last Run Disney event for the summer coming up on Saturday, August 12th at 8 a.m. at Castler Park. run, walk, crawl, we don't care, just show up and join us. So we'll see you there. All right, we're going to switch gears over to San Francisco. That's all the news that's, exciting and important this week. And I think we're still live, maybe. Let me know if we're not. It says 57, but nothing's playing. So that we're live. Okay. All right. I think it's good. It's working. All right. So talk to us if you have questions. So
it has been so much fun. We have done some really, really neat things.
We have.
Yeah,
We've done some really great stuff.
Yeah.
So we arrived. What day is it?
Today's
Friday. Right. Okay. Yeah. It's Friday. So we arrived yesterday. Did the old, leave the house at 4:00 in the morning and get to the airport at. I think our flight was at like 8:10. We got out here at would have been 2:00 Eastern time. It was thanks, Leah. It would have been 11ish here. Right. I think about 11:15 our plane actually landed. So from 11:15 we did not have checked bags. We flew into Oakland on Southwest. That was one of our options, and it was a really good choice for us because Southwest flies there directly, and it was an inexpensive flight. So. But doing that, it took us like an hour and 15 minutes to get to the city. So we were definitely cutting it pretty close on the time as far as when Adventures by Disney recommended that we be here. I thought that our afternoon activities were actually starting at like 12:30. So it turns out they didn't start until 2. So we actually had plenty of time, but the timeline when we looked at it was looked a little tight. So first thing when we got here, we decided we
went for lunch. We were hungry. They give you a couple little snacks on the airlines, but certainly not enough for the tummies. Mm-hmm. So we went to lunch, and something interesting we found in looking for lunch is they have lots of choices. I mean, like every other place you walk from the hotel, we had a choice. However, the majority, you can't sit down and eat. You just have to grab and go.
Or they had like 2 tables if they had any, and the line was already out the door, so obviously our chances of sitting down were like,
Right. And we found out sort of the business district, so a lot of people do just grab and run back to their office.
Right. Which we didn't have an office to run back to because our room wasn't quite ready when we checked in, so we were like, well, we could take our food back and eat oddly in the hotel lobby with everyone staring at us, or we can just keep going until we find a place with tables. So
we did.
We kept going.
Yeah, so, we did.
We ate at a restaurant called Bread and Cocoa, we think. By that point, we were on about our 7th restaurant that we walked into like by that point. So I'm honestly not 100% sure that that's the name, but they had salads and sandwiches, and you could do like a half sandwich and a side salad for $10-11. Yeah. So it is city. I thought it was pretty reasonably priced.
And the food was
delicious. Yeah,
very good.
Very good. What did you have to drink? You had a lemon sparkling water.
Yeah.
That was a little. I had a jasmine green tea that it didn't really taste that much different than regular green tea, but the jasmine smelled amazing. So we need to get that on the East Coast. So dear San Francisco, send us some. Let's see. After, should we talk about some of the places we almost went?
Sure.
So we were thinking let's do something that's really we can't do it at home. Like little walk-in sushi places. We looked at like a
Japanese.
We looked at some Mexican places and we looked at an international food court. We thought we'd have a lot of success there, a lot of different options. And we walked downstairs and it looked kind of grimy and disgusting, and it looked like mass chaos. And we were just like, no, forget it, we're out. There are tons and tons of restaurants. Literally every 5 steps, there's a place to eat, but not all are desirable looking. So something to keep in mind if you're planning to journey to the Bay Area. Hi, Amy. Wish you were here.
Yeah. Hi, Amy.
Mom really wishes you were here.
I really wish you were here.
So, after lunch, we came back, and our room was ready almost right when we got back. We stopped at the desk to ask a question, and I think the girl thought we were really pushing her, so she was like, "I'm getting your room right now." We were like, "Yes." So we had a little bit of time to come up and change before we met up with our adventure guides and went out on our first excursion, because our very first excursion was biking along the bay. No.
Interesting.
Yeah. No. When we read this, it was it was one of those deals where it looked like we were gonna bike right along the edge of the bay. It looked like it was the flat part. There wasn't really any discussion as far as in our information packets about there being massive hills. It didn't give us a distance, but having looked into walking this distance before, I could tell you that it should have been significantly less than 3 miles. I didn't log it. I should have logged it on the app to see how far it was, and I didn't. So
I thought around it was supposed to be around.
It was probably 2.5.
One way.
One way. And it was supposed to be a round trip. So,
which it was a round trip.
It was a round trip. So we got to the bike place and got on the bikes. It's mandatory helmets, which I was like, oh gosh, seriously. Yeah. So got fitted for our helmets, got fitted for our bikes. The bikes were pretty nice. I mean, they did a nice job of like adjusting them, and the guy was like really good. He'd look at you and he could be like, okay, yeah, before you even sat on the bike. So he was good. He was skilled at his craft. So we got the bikes. Huh? Right, we went down across the street and we waited. And we waited. And waited. And finally, after what seemed like 5 hours later, the rest of our group managed to join us. And we started our bike trek. Well, for the first, probably, half to 3/4 of a mile.
Probably.
We were on the bike, and then we were off the bike. On the bike, off the bike. On the bike, off the bike. The very first time we got off the bike, it was to go up a hill.
Oh my!
Now the dear man who was guiding the tour told us we are going to come up on a steep hill. He's like, some people choose to ride it and some choose to hop off and walk, and either way is fine. He said, I'm probably going to hop off and walk. And I look at this guy and I'm like, he's probably 86. So
no, he did not look that
old. he was probably in his 60s. So I'm looking at him. I'm like, okay, like he's going to hop off and walk, but he does do this all the time, but he's also got probably 2 decades on me, so I'm like, I might try to ride up a little bit and see how it goes, Okay, we got to the base of this hill, and first of all, there was a child in front of me on the ride, and the child stopped dead, so I had to cold stop at the base of the hill, and I'm looking at him debating, I'm like, do I want to try to pedal up this? And I went to push the pedals forward, and I didn't go anywhere, and I was just like, nope. I quit. Mom was bailing. She bailed long.
I bailed right away.
As soon as she heard the word hill, she was like, nope, I got permission to walk. I'm walking. I'm out. So we walk up to the top of this hill, right? And y'all have seen pictures of hills in San Francisco, right? Was there one in oh no, that's the picture of the bridge. Okay. I mean, the hills in San Francisco, they do it. They go straight up and straight down. Okay, the Bill Cosby sketch was not wrong. They're crazy. Yeah. Well, it looks like one of the hills that's in the middle of the city. It's insane. So we walked the bikes to the top of the hill. By the top of the hill, we're all like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, you were worn out just
I was winded from walking.
Yeah, just from walking by.
So the good news is that when you get to the top of any hill, you get to ride down the other side. But even riding down the other side,
it was a stretched out slope. So it wasn't near going up the hill.
Right. And you couldn't really get up to full speed because the people in front of you were constantly braking and we were yielding to pedestrians. It was a very busy area for pedestrian and bike traffic. So we did all this work and didn't even get the reward of flying down the hill at 60 miles an hour, right? So that was our first little venture. Then we pedaled for a little bit. We went some places. Saw some beach and saw the harbor, and we were on pretty flat land at that point. And that truly was really the only big hill. There was anything else was a really, really slight grade, and it was over pretty quickly. So then our guide decided it would be a great idea to take us into traffic.
Yes.
To go over to the Presidio.
And I said to Holly, you didn't tell me this.
I didn't know. I really thought we were riding along the edge of the bay, not near any cars. I thought this was going to be a very safe activity. So we drive into traffic, and of course, I gotta give the people in San Francisco props. They are the best yielders to bikers I've ever seen, and the town of Hanover can stand to learn a thing or two from them, because let me tell you how many times I get almost run over biking home from work. So, very, very accommodating. Nobody honked at us, and we had, there are 31 people in our group, and I think probably 20 of us were biking
Probably.
to start with. So
I would say.
yeah, so we had like 20 bikes, some of which were like right there in the group, and some, but then we had long spaces in between. Nobody tried to cut in front of us ever. Mm-hmm. They yielded for the entire group to go. I mean, they really were gems. It didn't make us feel less nervous because we know what it's like to bike on the roads at home with cars trying to, get places. So that was a little bit...
Yeah.
I just didn't feel safe during that particular 5 minutes of the trip.
No.
Now, the Palace of Fine Arts was pretty neat.
Yeah, that was nice.
So it's not really a palace, and it's not like a fine arts museum. It's really kind of like a misnomer, but because I thought when I saw Palace of Fine Arts on there, I thought, oh, we're stopping at an art museum as we bike towards the bridge. Well, that sounds nice. I mean, I can't,
great.
like, how long are we going to be in the art museum? Is it big? I mean, I could spend an hour maybe. I mean, is this going to be a 5-week activity or what? So it's just a sculpture, and it's actually, it was built for the Panama Pacific, Panama Pacific Exposition of 1915, which is kind of like a World's Fair. And it was built as a celebration of the World's Fair, the opening of the Panama Canal, and celebration of the revitalization of San Francisco after the 1906 earthquake. So it has a lot of significance to the city, and it's very beautiful. It's located at the edge of Presidio Park, which is really a gorgeous area of the city, and we'll be headed back over there tomorrow. The shape of the structure is George Lucas's, or said to be anyway, George Lucas's inspiration for R2-D2. Which I thought was very cute, because Lucasfilm, Industrial Light and Magic, is located in the Presidio also. So that's kind of cool. It's also, if you look at it closely, it reminds me of the planet of Naboo from the Star Wars films, from the prequel trilogies. So there's some thought that maybe it inspires some of the lands in Star Wars. So just kind of a fun little connection there. So anyway, after nearly getting killed to get a picture in front of this thing, we got back on our bikes, and then we biked. You couldn't bike in the Presidio, so we had to walk the bikes. Then you biked back to the street. Then you had to get off the bike to cross the street on the bike. Then get back on the bike. It was funny.
It was.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Just word to the wise.
Right.
If you ever take this adventure.
The next time we got back on the bike, we got to pedal for about a solid mile.
Yeah.
Which was better. It was much better once we were going and we were running smoothly. It was great. And we went all the way up to the edge of the Golden Gate Bridge. Well, not to the entrance, but to the little promenade area that you can see the bridge and take pictures. They call it the Warming Hut. If they explained why it's called the Warming Hut, I'm not sure. We were a little bit later than the guide getting to that section, so he may have touched on that before we got there. But I'm sure we can look it up. The internet will tell us. So we did some pictures there. Adventures by Disney, one of my favorite things about it is that they take all of your pictures for you. So they will take pictures of each individual family. They take group shots at all of the major monumental places that you go, so that when you get home, you're in all the pictures. It's pretty cool. So we spent some time doing that. And then you had an option. You could either get back on the bike and ride back. Now, presumably, going back, you didn't stop again at the Palace of Fine Arts, so probably a little bit less treacherous on the return trip.
But you still had to cross the streets, I'm sure. You
still had to cross the streets, so you still had to jump on and off the bike a bunch of times. And
you would have been able to go down that big hill.
Yeah, but we would have had to walk up the other side. And that's what I'm thinking. We got down to the point, and I'm like, okay, I mean, we can do this again. Pedaling back to the start of where the road was flat and it was continuous movement, that was fine. That was no problem.
No.
Walking the bike back up the hill just to pedal down the other side with the brakes on the whole time, I was like, that doesn't sound fun. And Mom looked tired. I didn't want to make her get back on the bike.
She was being really kind to her mother.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we were talking about it. I was like, well, the people who didn't ride the bikes, they stayed on the bus and did a coach tour. So this is not a mandatory experience just because they're like, oh, God, I have to ride a bike in traffic in San Francisco? Is ADD trying to kill me?
Yeah.
No. You can stay on the bus. They'll take you around the city, do some more touring so that you get to see some sights. So like, well, we're going to see the same sights we just saw if we bike back, just in reverse, or we can get on the bus and see completely new sights. Yeah. So we hopped on the bus. I think we confused the guy.
Yeah, I think so.
From the bike place.
I think he was looking for us.
Because we just kind of abandoned our bikes and put our helmets on the handlebars and that. We told one of our adventure guides, we were like, well, look, we're going to take the bus back. And
she was like, fine. You know?
It's, as far as I was concerned, it was her job to communicate that information to the tour man.
Yeah. And
so
actually, she told
I think
us,
she probably did. She was like, okay, you're good. Go ahead and get on the bus.
Yeah.
So,
She actually told us in the very beginning, if you bike the one way.
right. You don't have to continue. You can
back
quit.
You can quit.
Yeah.
So we quit.
Right.
So it was okay.
Yeah, it was fine. But Mom said, you said you thought you heard the guy yelling for where the other two
He
people
said,
were.
where are the other two people?
Did we lose 2 people? Or we losing
It was
We're like,
funny.
not us.
No.
So, after bike riding, did we go directly to dinner from there? I mean, directly in a fashion?
I think so.
I think we did.
Yeah.
But it took like 2 hours to get,
Yeah.
or 5. I don't know.
Oh, it takes, the traveling around here, it takes so long to get anywhere because the traffic it's really horrendous. And we hit some of it also by
we were kind of in like
time.
rush hour. Yeah.
Yeah. So
but I mean, literally gridlock for blocks and blocks and blocks. One of the fun facts that we've learned so far, and I've got a whole list of them on my phone. Don't worry, we got tons. That San Francisco is 7 miles by 7 miles. I mean, if you figure 7 miles going 60 miles an hour, it should take me 7 minutes to go from one end of the city to the other. Okay, now it's a city. We got to go half speed. It should still 15 minutes. I should be able to cross the city. We were going to a restaurant that was not quite halfway through the city, and it literally took at least an hour to get there. So luckily our guides are amazing, and they were able to tell us all different kinds of things. They were pointing out different restaurants we could try out. They were pointing out different places we might want to see during our free time tonight, which is why I'm talking very fast so we can cut this short and get out of here. No. No, we're going to go down to Fisherman's Wharf, so we're going to we will try to wrap up here reasonably quickly. Plus, we've only been 2 days, so we don't have a ton to talk about yet. So we did end up at dinner, and like I said, the bus ride was fairly pleasant. Other than stop and go traffic was a little intense. If you get motion sickness, something to maybe consider on this trip. It was a little, depending on your driver. Our driver was a little heavy-handed on the brakes last night.
Yeah,
Hope. So anyway, we arrived at a mall for dinner. Woo, food court. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding. The restaurant was called TMY China. Do you remember the man's name? Yan something.
Yan, yes. It was Yan.
Let's call him Mike.
Okay.
Yen,
Mike.
That's not correct. But he's, okay, if you've ever watched the show Yen Can Cook, I'm not a cooking show watcher, but apparently this is a big show and people have seen it. It's like he's filmed 5,000 episodes or something. But he had the show, Yen Can Cook, and he opened his restaurant, which apparently can be pronounced interchangeably MY China or My China. And what'd you think of the restaurant?
Oh my God, it was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. I told Holly, I probably won't eat Chinese food in Hanover anymore.
Yeah, I don't think I'm just never going to eat Chinese food again. Sorry, Ben. Honestly, it was so good.
It was unbelievably good.
Yeah, we had 9 courses, I think we counted.
9-course dinner.
But it was served more like tapas style. So when they brought out the seafood dumplings, they brought, I think there were 8 people sitting at our table, including Anne. They brought like 10 seafood dumplings. So you were literally getting one and then, fight the rest of the table for the extras. When they brought out the pork spare ribs, they brought 10 pork spare ribs. So you each got one of each item. Now, we were lucky. We had 2 people at our table who eat a restricted diet, and they were being served separate food specially. So that left 2 more portions up for grabs. So,
yeah. But really, the amount of different foods that we had.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
A small serving of each item was plenty.
It was a nice way to go because we got to taste so many different things. We had, like I said, seafood dumplings, pork spare ribs,
chicken rice.
Chicken fried rice.
Oh, that was
They
awesome.
did sneak mushrooms into that one.
Yeah, and they were good.
They were those little white ones. They weren't too.
Yeah,
they weren't too tragic.
They were good.
They what was the other? Oh, the calamari.
Yes.
The fried calamari with like a duck sauce, but with maybe a little spicier.
Maybe.
Duck.
The first couple sauces were a little spicy, but good.
Yeah. Then we had a roasted duck with hoisin sauce on a bun, like a Chinese bun.
Yeah, but the bun was...
Yeah. If you've done Food and Wine Festival, they do I think it's a pork bun at the China Pavilion. It's that same type of bun, but
it was so light and fluffy, and it was small and all.
Chewy. A little chewy.
A little chewy, but it was absolutely
awesome texture.
Awesome. Yeah. Absolutely awesome.
And then we had green beans.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there was another meat dish that I can't
what were the first ones?
Oh, we had wonton soup. That was the seafood.
Oh, the wonton soup.
Yeah, that was the seafood.
That's right. The wonton soup.
Thingamajiggers.
Yeah.
They were great.
Yeah. They started us out with the wonton soup, and then the platters came.
And then the dessert. It's kind of like running joke, Chinese desserts. They always look amazing, and then you go to bite into them, and you're like, oh, they taste like nothing at all. Where's the flavor?
Yeah.
The dessert was fantastic. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like those little sugar-coated dumpling things that look like they're going to be great and then don't taste great. Except then they served it with raspberry sauce and hot fudge and a vanilla bean, like Cool Whip kind of deal.
Yeah, it tasted like an amazing whipped cream.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah. So you just pile some of that in it, and
yeah,
and make a little sandwich.
It was awesome.
It was great. Yeah, and then there was I wasn't sure how this was going to go. They advertised a noodle pulling demonstration. I didn't know if we were going to get to try to work with the noodle dough, which we didn't get to touch it. but the chef came around and he did some, jump roping.
Yeah, basically with the noodle dough.
Mm-hmm.
That was really neat. Yeah, that was interesting.
So that was dinner, and by that point, as you can imagine, it was like 9 o'clock by the time we left dinner. So we had been up
California time,
9 o'clock California time, and we had been up since what did we figure out? Like 1 a.m. California time. So we were toast by that point.
Yeah,
we were running on
20
fumes.
hours.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I thought it was really funny. The other, the one family that we were sitting with is from the East Coast also, and they actually left and walked back about 5 minutes before we walked to the bus.
Something like that.
Because they had to get back because they were so tired, and we actually I think beat them back by a couple minutes. That was pretty funny.
I don't think they realized we were leaving so quickly.
Yeah,
they thought we were going to be there longer.
Yeah. So that was the first day. So as you can tell, like even though it was only a half day, we didn't start our day until 2 o'clock. Like it was still full. Like there were still lots of memorable experiences. Even though we didn't do a lot of different things, we did a lot of really rich activities. So today we started at 7 a.m. Luckily for us, that's like 10.
Yeah,
so,
that's right. So actually, we came back to the room even last night, and it was only like 9:30. So that made us really feel much better.
Right, because to us that was like
that's great.
We felt like it was midnight, but and oh my gosh, we're getting up at 7. We have like 5 hours to sleep. This is gonna be tragic.
Oh my goodness.
Except we actually had 8 hours, so it was good. And then this morning, our first stop was Muir Woods. We didn't stop anywhere before that, right?
No, breakfast was on our own.
Right. Well, my first stop was Starbucks. So
Holly ran and got us breakfast.
That was the first stop of the day.
And then we found out they had all this food in the bus. I mean, they have treated us so nicely with snacks and fruit and beverage to drink.
Yeah, I've been hitting that snack basket hard.
Yeah. In fact, tomorrow I think we may just go with them.
Yeah, and bottled water. I think I probably have drank a case of water so far in the last 2 days.
I mean, they have been taking such good care of us.
Yeah. So our first stop was the Muir Woods National Monument. And yesterday we got really, really fortunate that the fog rolled in and out in enough time for us to get pictures at the Golden Gate Bridge. Today we got a little bit less fortunate going over the bridge. The fog was everywhere. I think I snapped some pictures, but it just looks like white with some strings of. It's called International Orange is the color of the paint, by the way, hanging down.
And you can buy at the paint store.
Yeah. The fog. Yeah, you can. Isn't that hysterical? Amy, check with Fred. See if they have International Orange at the store. I thought that was pretty cool. And I don't know if I happen to know this because luckily Dad's obsessed with the History Channel movies, so we get them for him for Father's Day and Christmas and his birthday. And one of the ones we watched recently was the Golden Gate Bridge, so it was really cool. We watched the construction of the bridge. So I was actually aware before we got here that International Orange was actually supposed to be the primer. Right. The final coat was actually supposed to be yellow and black stripes, and they did that to make it visible to the ships because the San Francisco harbor is so well hidden that even though ships arrived here, what did they say, 15 something? The harbor wasn't actually discovered for 200 years. They literally, ships were sailing up and down the California coast, had no idea they could get into San Francisco Bay through that harbor for 200 years. That's how thick the fog is. So, in fact, the fog is so much a part of life here, they've named it. They've named him Carl.
Yes.
So Carl the Fog. He has a Twitter page, so you can follow the movements of Carl the Fog. Which it's just so fun.
Yeah.
This is such an adorable place.
Yeah.
So anyway, foggy this morning going over the bridge. We went into the Muir Woods National Monument. I think I meant to share this share the photos to my business page. I think I accidentally shared it to my personal page. So if you're friends with me, go see it. If you're not and you want to see it, send me a message and I'll send you photos. But just wow. Redwoods. I've never seen them in person. Of course, we've seen pictures, and they look amazing in the pictures, and they're like, wow, they look really majestic. Standing in the middle of them was just fabulous. I mean, I was just in awe of that whole experience. And when we read the itinerary, that was one of the things that neither of us were like, yay, Muir Woods. Like, I was like, well, I kind of want to see it, but I hope we're not spending like all day there. I mean, there are other things that sound really good too that I think I'd rather see more of, But wow, it was just astounding.
They were awesome.
Yeah.
And walking through, it was really neat. Typically, when you walk through a wooded area, you're like on ground or these small little trails or what have you. They had like a boardwalk.
A beautiful boardwwalk.
Which was really nice.
And bridges across there. There's a river, or not a river, it's a
creek.
A creek, yeah. It's not the Mississippi. It's a trickle, really.
Yeah.
That runs through the center, and it just makes the nicest sounds. I mean, you've got this great water feature there, and you can hear the trees swaying in the wind a little bit, and I think the sounds are what really makes it.
And you don't have to like keep going, and I mean, it's it's large,
right?
And nice.
Unfortunately, we didn't get to see the whole thing, but
no, we didn't. But they have bridges ever so often, so you can just go across the bridge and then come back the other side, so you're not duplicating what you see.
Right.
So that was really nice.
And the informational, the info cards that they have, as because it's a national park, so they have the little, no international orange at Sherwin-Williams. Oh, okay, get on that, Fred. Come on, work on that. I want to use it to paint my living room.
Yeah, primer paint.
So anyway, back to Muir Woods. I totally forget where we were. The boardwalk? Were we talking about the boardwalk and the bridges?
And how you could cross over, and you have pamphlet because of National Park.
Right. Oh, the signs, the little info things. They had a cross section of a tree trunk, and they actually had pinpointed on there the date that this tree was born, and then they had historical events like Columbus discovering America.
Yeah.
And this tree, it only fell in like 2013.
Yeah.
And it had literally existed since before Columbus accidentally ran into America.
It was absolutely...
Wow!
Yeah.
I mean...
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, we got to stand inside the trunk of one.
Good photo shoot.
Yeah, that was really cool.
But it was natural. I mean, they don't do anything.
They don't do anything to touch them. And when they fall, I mean, I'm sure some of them they clear if they're, going to be dangerous to someone, or they destroy something about the habitat. But when they fall, some of them they leave there and just saw pieces off of them. So there was a tree that was felled, and you could see it was the what do I want to say, the display that we saw.
Right.
It was varnished, and they had written on it, so you could see exactly what all the rings represented. This one was natural, so you could actually see the rings physically on the tree, and you could see where the bark was peeling, and you could see there were char lines on it, just like the infographic said. About this was when a fire had come through and some of the charring had actually scarred the exterior of the tree at certain points, and you could actually see it in the real tree. It was like, wow, it was pretty cool. And the top of it looked like it was finished, like it could have been a hardwood floor or a wooden table. it was so smooth, and obviously no one sanded it, so just the natural elements out there have ripped the bark away at part of the tree and have sanded it down so it has a smooth, shiny finish. It was really cool.
It was really neat. Yeah. And you would see, like, there was one tree we saw had moss growing on it the whole way up to the top, and the trees around and beside had no moss. Yeah. It was just amazing, the things that you would see there.
Very cool place.
Yeah, it really is.
And we got to be part of an ABD first. So, unfortunately, our bus left about 30 minutes late this morning because, unlike the last adventure that Ben and I were on, where our entire group was on time for every single thing that we did, we had people that were 30 minutes late this morning. So, our time at Muir Woods got shortened a little bit. I felt very rushed there. I really felt like I needed more time.
Yeah.
Apparently, 2 of the members of our group just took more time. Because they never showed up.
I think they got off of the main trail.
There was a set of stairs. I think they probably went up the stairs, didn't know where they were, or didn't realize how long it was going to take them to get back because they weren't paying attention to what time they left, where the halfway point was. I've got to turn around now. It's time to go. So, I mean, we were a couple minutes late getting back to the bus ourselves, but we were back in the gift shop restroom area 10 minutes before it was meetup time. So our guides knew where we were. We got in a really long line at the gift shop that delayed us. We needed to hit the restroom because we were going on a 2-hour bus ride after that. So they were aware that we were there. Right. These people, 30 minutes after the meeting time, still nowhere to be found. So,
and they were back looking for them and could not find them.
Right. So, I mean, our guides really did everything, and they even warned us before we went down. They were like, "This is one place where you absolutely must be in the area, back in the area when we tell you to be, because there's no cell phone reception at all. Like from the time you get on the road to go down, the cell phone reception cuts out. So, you're not contacting anybody from down there. You're stuck. There is a payphone on the premises." And that's pretty much your only line of communication. So, if you've got to call a cab from there, first of all, your cab fare is probably going to be like $200. And it's going to take them an hour to get to you, so I hope you're really having fun in the trees because you're staying for a while. So, it was really unfortunate, but they decided that we needed to continue moving because we were headed to the Silverado Vineyards, and it was going to take us 2 hours to get there already. We really didn't have the time to spare to be sitting and waiting and holding up 29 people for 2. So, the bus left.
And our guides told us in 9 years they have never
had that happen.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So, we got about it probably was close to an hour down the road because we were all the way out of Muir Woods. We were out of Sausalito, and we were down the road a piece.
They moved very slowly in case they came up out of the woods. They'd see the bus, so the bus could turn around and
and they were in contact with the people who were manning the park desk that day to, if when they eventually come back, they have to come back eventually, to, call them and let them know, and we'll try to figure out what to do. So we're about an hour down the road, and the guides finally, between their supervisor, between the people at Muir Woods, how are we going to handle this situation? They finally got a call. We dropped one of our guides off at a rental car facility so that she could rent a car to go back and get them, and she spent the rest of the day specifically with them. So, and they did something, we don't know what their activity was, but they had an alternate activity. They didn't get to go to the vineyard, but they still, had something that was a good experience. But this is one of the things about Adventures by Disney that is amazing. The 2 guide thing. I heard people talk about it before we went, and I was like, oh, that's cute, there's 2. Okay, whatever. No. Yeah. You couldn't have done that. Those people would have literally had to get a cab, go back to San Francisco, and spend the day on their own. Because they're obviously not going to leave, the guide with the 29 people is obviously not going to leave, get off the bus, go get a rental car, and go back and get the people who are stranded. They're obviously going to continue on to wherever we're going, and you're just on your own. The fact that we had a second guide, we had an emergency kind of situation crop up, and the family that was missing, it was a mom and her little girl. I mean, it wasn't, and she's probably 5, 6 maybe.
Yeah.
I mean,
she would panic. I'm sure was very upset.
I'm sure she was very upset at that. And hopefully the people at the park found her and talked to her and kept her calm while they contacted the guide. But they were, they were able to go back and deal with that situation because we had 2 guides. So it's just really remarkable the extra attention that the guides are able to give, and the way they're able to bounce off of each other, that it makes the tour itself richer, but really, really gives you an opportunity when something doesn't go as planned or they're trying to do something special for someone, gives an opportunity for that to happen. So, our second activity today, we went to the Silverado Vineyards. Very, very beautiful place. Silverado, if you're not aware, is owned by Ron Miller, who was the former chairman, CEO, chairman, head guy, makes a lot of money.
Yeah,
at Disney.
That's what he was.
He is Walt Disney's son-in-law. He is married to Walt Disney's biological daughter, Diane Disney Miller, who passed away 4 years ago. So they owned this vineyard together, and all of their children, who, obviously being at Disney would be set for life, they all work in the vineyard. All of their grandchildren work in the vineyard. Their 2 great-grandchildren are probably not old enough to work in the vineyard, but they probably make them come in and pick some grapes every now and then just to earn their keep. Yeah. So it's doubtful that this winery will ever transfer out of this family, unless, out of all of those people, no one wants to continue it on after Ron is gone. But I can't imagine. I mean,
I can't either.
And the process that they have going on up there is amazing. You've never been to a winery, right?
No, I never have.
I've been to a winery, but I've never been through as a tour of how the winery operates and how wine is created. I don't know. There's grapes and they end up in a glass and it's wine. Sure, I get the connection. But as far as how that process goes, I don't really know. So apparently about 60% of those grapes are machine picked. So they pick them all and put them in these big vats and then smash them all up. And then whatever the liquid is that comes out of it, it has to be aged in a barrel before it goes back in the vat to go in a bottle. So,
which is all clear, no matter what color the grape is.
Right. You squeeze a grape and it's clear juice. If you're not believing that, I have some of it in my hair right now. So,
and Holly will tell you how she got it in her hair
in just a minute. So, anyway, we went through the facility tour, which is cleaner. Rich was our guide's name, and he told us it's cleaner than an operating room before we went in. He wasn't lying. He was not lying. It was wow. I was like, wow.
It was that sterile clean.
I mean, think about everybody's ordered at the Taco Bell counter, right? And you've looked back in the kitchen and you're like, I don't want to know what's going on back there. Just make the tacos, right? I've never seen a kitchen that looks as clean as this winery did. And I mean, granted, they're not using it all the time. It's a more specific process. They only harvest the grapes one time a year. I mean, okay, fine. But still, you're dealing with a food process. You're dealing with something that's liquid that you're putting in a wooden barrel. There's got to be some that gets spilled on the floor. Nothing was sticky. Nothing. I mean, it was pristine. And Rich told us that that's key. In the wine industry, absolutely key to have everything exactly sterile. So that was pretty amazing.
It was.
After the tour of the winery, we enjoyed a lunch, which was served family style with 3 different types of salad. 3 different types of sandwiches, and they were small enough portions that you could try everything if you didn't mind stuffing yourself a little bit, and then 3 different options for dessert. I didn't eat any single thing on that table that I didn't think was absolutely amazing.
Oh, absolutely awesome.
Yeah. What was your favorite out of the lunch?
I would say, and I don't know what it was called, but it was a salad, and Holly's dad would love this. With the zucchini in it? It was very well, I'll say chopped smashed, but chopped very, very fine.
Yeah, the quinoa salad.
Is that what it was
called? So the quinoa, zucchini, and corn. Awesome. And it was really, really good.
Yeah.
That was my favorite of the salads, for sure.
That was really my favorite, too.
Out of the sandwiches.
Other ones, they had spinach salad, which was very good.
Yeah, the spinach salad was really good.
It was. Yeah. But their salads that you would have other places, where this was
special.
Really special and unique.
Mm-hmm. And I thought the vegetable, they called them paninis, but they were really on a very flat ciabatta-style bread. And, yeah, Ryan, there's been good food. It's a good adventure for you. You should check it out.
Yeah.
Backstage Magic, the food was not great. It was not, that adventure is not about the food. It's about the Disney. And it's fantastic. That's not where you're going if you're looking for good food.
This is what you're going for.
This is good. Yeah. Yeah. Now, there's not a lot of it because there is not a lot of time on the adventure, but the food is really, really stand out. The veggie sandwich I thought was awesome. It was egg white and spinach and I don't even know, but it was delicious. Just all worked together really well. Dessert was probably the weakest point, honestly. Yeah. It was brownies and Blondie chocolate chip cookie style brownies and a shortbread cookie. So
is that what that was?
Yeah.
Oh,
okay. That's why you were really disappointed in it when you were like, "I'll have the cheesecake," and I was like, "Oh, you're not gonna like that. It's not gonna be cheese. You're gonna eat that in a minute, and it's not gonna be cheesecake."
Like a cheesecake, and when I saw Holly try to take a piece, and it sort of flew across her plate. I was like, "Not cheesecake.
That cheesecake looks weird." But it did. Good. It looked like if you looked at it from the side, it looked like it could have been cheesecake.
Yeah, it really did.
Yeah. So after lunch, we met up with some step-on guides from Sonoma.
Yes.
Who had come. Now, this was in Napa Valley, and apparently Sonoma's the next valley over. I know nothing about wine country. This was like all new information to me. So, but this was the grape stomping activity.
Yeah. Oh, and awesome.
I don't know about you. For me, this was what tipped the scale of whether we should do this adventure or not.
Yeah.
Because we get into trouble sometimes.
That's Holly and I.
Yeah. And we've often referred to ourselves as Lucy and Ethel. So the fact that Lucy and Ethel got a chance to stomp some grapes at a vineyard, even though it's not in Italy, it was kind of one of those like, oh my, we can't pass up this opportunity. This is crazy.
We have to do this.
So I kind of pictured like the big vat like Lucy and Ethel had, and I thought we would just each get in and take a turn stomping around in the grapes and get a photo op.
Or be a whole group in and stomping grapes.
No, we actually had a grape stomping competition.
Yeah.
So we split up into 3 groups, and we had to come up with a team name and a team cheer and a team captain. So
Holly was our cheer leader.
Yeah. It worked out better that way because everybody else was standing around like, I don't know what to do. Like, guys, come on, let's put this together and look at least halfway decent. So anyway, we threw this thing together and it was fine. We're not going to do it for you now. No recaps available.
No, that's okay. But our name was really good.
Right. Remember, we had 40 seconds to come up with our cheer. So, there was this kid on the team, and this is not an adult exclusive itinerary on the week that we're on it. So there are kids on the tour. Obviously, Danny was 5 or 6. So one of the kids on the tour, his name is Kellum. So we've decided that our cheer should be Kill It Team Kellum. Because we named the team after him because he was the only kid on our team, and we're like, oh, the kid probably feels like awkward. Like let's make him the star. So our team captain came up with that idea, and that was a really good one. So anyway, we did our little cheer and whatever. Actually,
and we got.
Oh yeah, you guys are leaving tomorrow. That's awesome. Yeah, Ryan and Amanda leave for Disney World tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, awesome.
Yeah. Don't put off that packing. Get that done. So we got points for our team name and our team captain and our team cheer, and we were in the lead going into the first round because I wasn't going to let us do anything other than that. If we're gonna play a game, we're gonna play to win.
That's right. Very competitive.
Right. We're not playing to come in third. So the next phase of the game was the grape stomping competition. I had no idea that grape stomping is a competitive sport.
Yeah.
And apparently we're really good at it.
Yeah, it's probably soon going to be in the Olympics, and we may be the first
and we might be on the team. So apparently there's an annual competition the first weekend of October in Sonoma for grape stomping. Now, what's the person who helps the grape stomper? I forget what they're called. The scraper. Scooper.
Yeah.
Scooper. Is scooper?
Doesn't sound right.
Doesn't
That's
sound
good.
Right. Scooper.
Scooper.
Yeah. Okay.
Scooper.
So, one person gets in the vat and stomps on the grapes and makes them all juicy and gross.
Yeah. Oh, and you missed a big step.
Oh yeah. So there's a ritual washing of the feet of the team captain, right? And the team captain sits down and gets to choose somebody for the ritual. Now, they didn't know what the ritual was going to be. They just knew that they had to choose someone. So they, our team captain, Captain LJ, it picked me. I was like, yay, I got chosen. I'm first for the team. This was not an honor because I had to wash LJ's feet. Now, not only did I have to wash LJ's feet, but they were giving out 2 bonus points for the first pick E who would kiss the team captain's feet.
And Holly flew down.
Let me tell you, there were 2 points on the line. We had 2 points on the line, and we were not losing. So, yeah, I did that. I saw a glimmer of hesitation. I looked down the line, and I was like, I'm going for it. We're going to get those points. So, yeah, we were, like, really solidly in the lead going into the final. Now, then we actually started the stomping, and there were 7 people on our team, so we had to take turns, and we all took turns stomping, and we all took turns scraping, something like that.
Scraping sounds
Scraping?
It
still doesn't sound right. But anyway, the person who uses their hand to get all the juice into the jug. Okay. So there's the vat, and it's only really big enough for one person to stand in. It's got a pipe. And then you have a jug with a very small opening, like probably the size of
a milk carton.
Yeah, it was really about a milk carton size. Yeah. And the pipe is larger than the opening. So you really have to like hold it exactly where you want it, or it's going to get juice everywhere. So, yes, Leah, you're right. You're not first, you're last. That's my girl. So the scooper, scraper, whatever, as the person is stomping and creating juice, has to try to push the juice and press it to go out through the pipe so it flows into the jug.
It's like a screen there that you're pressing it against.
Right, because otherwise you're just going to stomp and stomp and stomp all day and you're not going to get any... I mean, the juice will be there in the tub, but what good is that? Yeah. Now, this is not how wine is made. This isn't a real thing.
No.
Like, people don't just go around stomping grapes and then drink it. It's pressed by machines. It's clean. It's like the OR.
Yeah.
So it's totally fine. This is just for fun and for sport. It's like an old tradition thing. So, anyway, we all took turns doing both things. The stomping was pretty gross.
Our first stomper, though, was Kellum.
yeah, Kellum. Because we named the team for him. We thought he should get to stomp the grapes first.
That's right. I mean, that kid was in there stomping his heart out.
Yeah, he was like jumping on him. He was a beast.
He was. And he's not. He's this thin, tall,
but
I don't know, 15-year-old.
Yeah, he got us a really good start.
Yeah, he gave us a fantastic start. I mean, he had things liquefied.
Yeah.
I was the next one.
Mom was stomper number 2.
I was stomper number 2, and quickly found out that the grapes were stumped. All they needed to be, what we need to do is
push the liquid up to the front.
Push the liquid up to the front, so it would come out and into the jug.
Yep. Yeah. So as soon as we realized that was the key, it wasn't the smashing that needed to be done anymore. It was really just pressing. Everything had to press forward. We got pretty quick. We did a pretty good job of filling them up.
We had figured out what to do.
Yeah, so we did emerge victorious for our team. And as a result, we actually won a bottle of wine, which I traded to somebody else for a t-shirt that they won for being a great team captain. Because the t-shirt has this really cool, like, they weren't selling the t-shirts anywhere. You could buy a bottle of wine. And we had to ship it home. I was like, well, we don't drink wine, so why do I want to pay to ship our free bottle of wine home that we're not going to drink?
Right.
It doesn't really make a lot of sense. And yeah, I know, we could have given it to all of you. And I had to pay to ship it home. Good grief. And we already tasted it. It tasted nice. I mean, it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not really wine people.
I bet you're all curious, though, and talking about stumping, how Holly got grapes in her hair.
Oh, I was down there pressing that juice, and the grapes, and the person's stomping, and the grape juice is flying out.
And being Holly, as competitive as she is,
I didn't care.
She
going for it.
Nothing back as far as getting that juice into that jug. Oh gosh!
So that was a good time.
Fun. That was a good time.
Yeah,
and lots of fun.
So I checked the GPS when we left the vineyard, and it said that it was going to take us like 45 minutes to get back. We left at about 10 after 3. We got back to the hotel at about 5:25, I think.
Yeah,
so
that's the way traffic is.
Traffic has been just really, really terrible.
But again, we were probably at rush time traffic.
We probably were, and we're hoping that tomorrow our traffic situation will go a little bit more smoothly because of being a weekend. Maybe. And tomorrow we do still have a lot left, even though this is a very fast adventure. We're going to Angel Island in the morning. I think we're going to see a little bit more of Sausalito because I think that's how we're getting there. we're gonna actually walk on the Golden Gate Bridge tomorrow. Hopefully, Carl will not be present for that. And
although we saw a sign coming in from the airport at Bay Bridge.
Yeah, we were on the Oakland Bay Bridge coming from the airport, and then again today. But then after that, we have a photo op at Lucasfilm. I'm kind of hoping that there's a little extra magic thing there, like we get to like meet somebody cool, or somebody comes out and talks to us or does a presentation. Probably not, because it's Lucasfilm. It's like, closed doors. Nobody can get in. And then we go to our finale is actually the Walt Disney Family Museum, and then dinner tomorrow night. So we've actually been to the Walt Disney Family Museum, so that's going to be a repeat for us. But everything else will be new tomorrow. So
yeah,
very much looking forward to tomorrow. Looking forward to seeing the museum again. Last time we were in the museum, I felt a little rushed. Because my family was not interested in reading every single plaque in the museum.
She won't mention any names.
No. No, it wasn't just Mom. Dad was rushing too.
He was, and I'm not really sure. There was something else we had planned to do.
We were going to go to Fisherman's Wharf, and I think he was tired of walking and standing at that point, because we walked to get to the museum, and I think his knees were bothering him. So.
It was a lot of walking.
Yeah, so I think he was just like, can we go somewhere where we can sit?
Yeah.
He was just kind of open to experience. So. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing a little bit more tomorrow. Yeah. Maybe like skip through the first part a little bit, because I read through most of that, and then hit the end a little harder. Also looking forward to the gift shop over there. They have some pins that I like. So,
which we've been getting pins.
I've been getting pins. Oh, I meant to put my lanyard on. Hang on, I'll be right back.
Holly loves the pins. I mean, they say pins and her eyes just light up, which you probably all know about her terrific pin collection.
So, so far, we get a pin for every day. I'm curious to see what they do on Sunday, because we don't actually have any excursions or anything planned that day. But usually we get a pin for each day of the trip, so I'm hoping we get one Sunday too. So yesterday we got Golden Gate galore, because we biked to the Golden Gate Bridge. And then today we got vineyard grapes and forestscapes to commemorate our time in Muir Woods and our visit to the vineyard. We also picked up a couple of extra non-Disney pins along the way, including, this is actually a foot with grapes on it for our grape stomping adventure. And then last night from our dinner at My China, the restaurant had a pin. Now this one's, I don't know if it's actually a pin or not, because it's magnetic. So,
different.
I'm going to defer to Amanda on that one, whether or not that counts as a pin. So, we'll see. And then, of course, every time you do an Adventures by Disney, they do give you a lanyard, which has your name tag on it that acts as your ticket to get into everything. And, of course, if you have a letter in your name that they can make a Mickey Mouse head out of, you get one. So
I got two. One. I got two in my name. So both sides, that means I got 4, and right. Holly only got 2.
So, and we also got all of the normal stuff that we got on the last Adventures by Disney, like the little cosmetic case and the drawstring bag and then the duffel bag on arrival, we got on the 4-day trip also. So just because you're doing a long weekend doesn't mean that they skimp on the freebies. So I thought that was nice to see too. So our guides are very good. They do not work exclusively for Disney. So that was kind of interesting. They actually lead other tour groups. Largely in the San Francisco area, and our one guide, Anne, actually does a lot of tours on the East Coast, so she does a lot of DC, Philly area tours. So I was like, oh, okay, stop in sometime.
Yeah.
So,
and they're great tour guides because they really bounce off of one another.
They do. Yeah.
As far as just information. They're awesome together. And it was really interesting about where they live. You want to share that?
Yeah. Eleni lives in... She lives near the Presidio now, but she's from Santa Cruz. That doesn't sound right. Maybe, that's it. Santa Cruz. She's not too far away. But right now she lives near the Presidio Park. She lives in a 3-bedroom flat with 2 other people, and their rent's $4,000 a month.
Yeah.
So, and Anne lives in Sausalito on a houseboat.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, so very different lifestyles, very different aspects. This is definitely a very diverse city.
Yeah.
So it's been really cool to see, like, there's a lot of street art. Graffiti's not illegal here, so it's called street art. And I took pictures of a couple that were really, really tremendously great, as much as I could out the bus window. Because unfortunately, a lot of this tour, we've seen places through the bus window. that is one thing I wish could be a little bit different, because, like I said, a lot of time sitting in traffic, a lot of time sitting on the bus. As it turns out, this probably would not have been a great Ben adventure, because I feel like by now he would have been like, if I have to sit on that bus for one more minute, I'm going to go crazy. Yeah. So if that's a problem for you, and especially this morning going down to Muir Woods, like we definitely had a couple people who were like eating the ginger candy and getting, putting their head down, and it was windy. A very windy road. And our bus driver today was a little bit smoother, but still a lot of curves in that road. Yeah. It was not a great trip.
Very windy.
Yeah. And worth it, but not a great road trip.
Right. Temperature here is very
surprising. Weird. Yeah, it's weird. It's anywhere from 50 degrees in San Francisco to, it was like almost 90 in Napa Valley today, and we only drove 20 miles up the road.
Yeah,
So,
it's really unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I remember that when I was here 8-10 years ago, Holly's dad and I were here, and with friends. I guess our first day, we, of course, were dressed for summer. It was about the same time of the year. We had shorts, etc., etc. We about froze. And it was like the afternoon. I mean, when it should have been its warmest. So by evening, my toes were red. I had sandals on. I did have like a sweatshirt, and I do have jeans. I always travel with a sweatshirt and jeans. It's just my habit. But had shorts on, and of course, away from the motel and so forth. Ended up buying socks. We bought winter coats, and we wore those winter coats throughout the stay in San Francisco. And we had the same experience. We went from Muir Woods into a warmer area. We did not go to Napa, but it was a warmer area. We went to see a lighthouse because our friends are very much into lighthouses. Well, when we got there, it was like taking off the coat. It was just unbelievable.
And then as soon as you get back to San Francisco, you're like, bam, cold.
Yeah, cold. Yeah. And where's the jacket? Where's the coat?
Yep.
It's quite an experience.
Yeah. So that does it for us for right now. We're going to go ahead and wrap up. If you're interested in hearing about how the day went tomorrow, just kind of check in on the page, and we might post a total recap. It just kind of depends, I think, how much cool stuff goes on tomorrow. Otherwise, we will wrap up this adventure. It's been a great adventure relative to the Backstage Magic Adventures by Disney. I mean, most of you guys that watch with us, you're Disney people before your travel people. So in that perspective alone, I would say Backstage Magic is, so far, we're not done yet, but so far, I'm going to say that's probably the winner as far as ABD experiences go. Like I said, if you're into food and wine, this is a good option. This is a better option probably than Backstage Magic. But just given the background that I know most of our friends, at least who interact with us on the show, come from, that's probably not going to be as much your cup of tea as the Backstage Magic. It's I would say it's for value, it's probably the superior experience. But we'll have to wait and see what happens tomorrow and see how it comes out at the end of the day. So
sounds good.
Still a great experience here though, having a great time, and excited to do another long weekend sometime. So. All right. Well, hey, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week back at our regular time, 8 p.m. On the Magic Shares Travel family page. And next week, our topic is something that's different from this week. I'm pretty sure we're back to cruise ships. I think it's either the Magic or the Wonder. If it's not, I forget. We'll see you then. Have a good night.
Night, everybody.